The mining station Kepler 442b had been silent for 3 weeks when Captain Sarah Chen received the distress beacon. Deep in the outer rim territories, the automated facility processed rare crystals from the planet's harsh surface. Now something had gone wrong, and the Galactic Mining Consortium demanded answers. Sarah's ship, the Aurora, cut through hyperspace with practiced efficiency. Her crew of 12 humans represented Earth's newest contribution to galactic civilization. Just 50 years since first contact, humanity had earned a reputation for persistence and problem-solving that other species found both admirable and slightly unsettling. "Captain, we're approaching the system," announced Lieutenant Torres from the navigation station. "Long-range scans show the mining station is still operational, but no response to our hails." Sarah studied the tactical display. Kepler 442b was a harsh world, with surface temperatures that could melt copper and atmospheric pressure that would crush most species. Only the hardiest alien races could survive there, which made the mining operation particularly valuable. "Take us in slowly," Sarah ordered. "Run full spectrum scans. I want to know what happened before we dock." As they approached the station, the mystery deepened. The facility appeared undamaged, its massive drilling rigs still extracting precious materials from the planet below. Emergency lights blinked in regular patterns, indicating basic systems remained functional. Yet the communication arrays sat silent, and no life signs registered on their sensors. "This doesn't make sense," muttered Dr. Hassan, the mission's xenobiologist. "The station is designed to operate with minimal crew, but someone should be responding to our signals." Sarah felt the familiar weight of command settle on her shoulders. In her 20 years of space service, she had learned to trust her instincts. Something was very wrong here, and the silence felt ominous rather than peaceful. "Commander Rodriguez, prepare an away team," she ordered. "Full environmental suits and emergency protocols. We're going aboard." The docking procedure proceeded smoothly, magnetic clamps securing the Aurora to the station's main airlock. As the away team suited up, Sarah reviewed the station's blueprints one final time. The facility housed a crew of 6 Xanthari, a reptilian species known for their technical expertise and reliability. They had operated this station flawlessly for 2 years without incident. The airlock cycled with mechanical precision, and Sarah's team stepped into sterile corridors lined with alien technology. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the walls, and their footsteps echoed hollow in the recycled atmosphere. "Life support is functioning normally," reported Sergeant Kim, checking his readings. "Atmosphere is breathable, but I'm detecting trace amounts of an unknown chemical compound." They moved deeper into the station, following standard search patterns. The main control room stood empty, consoles blinking with routine operational data. Personal belongings remained scattered on desks, as if the crew had simply vanished mid-task. "Captain, you need to see this," called Dr. Hassan from the crew quarters. Sarah found her team gathered around an overturned table in what appeared to be the station's common area. Claw marks scored the metal walls, deep gouges that spoke of desperate struggle. Alien blood stained the floor in dark patches, but no bodies were present. "Whatever happened here involved violence," Hassan observed, sampling the blood with his portable analyzer. "These claw marks are consistent with Xanthari defensive wounds, but the pattern suggests they were fighting something much larger." Sarah knelt beside the largest bloodstain, her mind racing through possibilities. "Any indication what they were fighting?" "That's the strange part," Hassan replied, frowning at his readings. "I'm detecting genetic material from an unknown species, something that doesn't match any classification in our databases." A low rumble echoed through the station's hull, causing everyone to freeze. The sound repeated, rhythmic and deliberate, like breathing from something impossibly large. "That's coming from the lower levels," Torres whispered, checking his scanner. "Near the main drilling operations." Sarah made a quick decision. "Rodriguez, take half the team back to the ship. Prepare for immediate departure if necessary. The rest of us will investigate the source of that sound." They descended through maintenance shafts toward the drilling platform, the rumbling growing stronger with each level. The station's lower sections were designed for heavy machinery, with reinforced walls and industrial-grade lighting. Here the signs of struggle became more apparent. Entire wall panels had been torn away, revealing twisted metal and severed cables. The air carried a strange scent, musky and alien, unlike anything in Sarah's experience. Most disturbing were the massive footprints pressed into the metal flooring, each one larger than a human torso. "Captain," Kim called softly, "I'm reading massive life signs ahead. Something big is definitely down there." They approached the main drilling chamber cautiously, weapons ready but hoping for a peaceful resolution. Sarah had learned that first contact situations required delicate handling, especially when evidence suggested violence. The drilling chamber opened into a vast space, dominated by the massive boring equipment that carved into the planet's surface. But it was what lay curled around the base of the drilling platform that made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. The creature was magnificent and terrible, easily 30 meters long with scales that shimmered like black metal. Its serpentine body showed numerous wounds, some fresh and bleeding, others partially healed. Massive chains, clearly of Xanthari manufacture, bound its limbs and neck to the drilling platform. As they watched, the creature's great head lifted, revealing intelligent eyes that fixed on the human team. Despite its fearsome appearance, Sarah saw something in those eyes that she recognized from her own experiences, the look of a trapped and desperate being. "My God," Hassan whispered. "It's been chained here. The Xanthari were using it somehow." The creature made no aggressive moves, simply watching them with an intelligence that made Sarah's heart ache. The wounds on its body told a story of prolonged captivity and abuse, and she began to understand why the Xanthari crew had disappeared. It broke free, she realized aloud. Whatever they were doing to it, it finally fought back. The creature's eyes never left her face, and Sarah felt an unexpected connection forming. In her years of space exploration, she had encountered many species, but none that projected such a clear sense of suffering and hope combined. "Captain," Torres urged quietly, "we should report this to command and let the specialists handle it." But Sarah found herself taking a step forward instead, her hand raised in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. The creature watched her approach, its breathing steady despite the obvious pain from its wounds. In that moment, Sarah made a decision that would change everything. Rather than walking away and filing a report, she chose to see the situation through human eyes, a thinking being in pain, abandoned and alone, deserving of help regardless of the complications that choice might bring. "We're not leaving it like this," she announced, her voice carrying the authority of absolute conviction. Sarah's declaration hung in the air like a challenge to the universe itself. Her team exchanged uncertain glances, but none questioned her decision. They had served under Captain Chen long enough to know that when she spoke with that tone, debate was pointless. "Dr. Hassan, what's your assessment of its condition?" Sarah asked, never taking her eyes off the massive creature. Hassan approached cautiously, scanner in hand, his scientific curiosity overriding his fear. Multiple lacerations across the torso and limbs, some infected. Dehydration is severe, and these chains have caused significant tissue damage where they've rubbed against the skin. "Captain, this creature has been tortured." The beast's great head turned toward Hassan as he spoke, and something like understanding flickered in its ancient eyes. When Hassan extended his medical scanner, the creature remained perfectly still, allowing the examination despite having every reason to distrust alien technology. "It understands us," Torres observed with wonder. "Look at how it's responding to Hassan's movements. That's not instinct, that's intelligence." Sarah studied the restraints more carefully. The Xanthari chains were sophisticated, designed not just to hold but to inflict pain with any movement. Energy cables ran from the shackles to the station's power grid, suggesting some form of electrical torture had been employed. This wasn't just captivity, she realized with growing anger. They were conditioning it, breaking its will through pain. Kim examined the control systems near the drilling platform. "Captain, there are neural interface ports built into these restraints. The Xanthari were using this creature's nervous system to control the drilling operation somehow." The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. The mining operation's exceptional efficiency hadn't come from Xanthari expertise alone. They had enslaved a sentient being, forcing it to use its natural abilities to enhance their extraction processes. "That's why they were so secretive about their methods," Hassan added, his voice tight with disgust. The Galactic Mining Consortium thought they had developed new technology. Instead, they were committing slavery on a scale we've never seen. The creature made a low sound, not quite a growl, but something deeper and more complex. To Sarah's trained ear, it sounded almost like language, though unlike any she had encountered in her travels through known space. "Can we free it safely?" she asked, examining the locking mechanisms on the chains. Kim ran his scanner over the restraints. "The locks are biometrically coded to Xanthari physiology. Without one of them here to release the system, we'd need to cut through reinforced metals designed to hold something this strong." Then we cut. Sarah decided immediately. "Torres, get back to the Aurora and bring our industrial cutters. Hassan, prepare medical supplies for treating large-scale wounds. Kim, start documenting everything. This facility is evidence of a war crime." As her team dispersed to their tasks, Sarah remained alone with the creature. She found herself drawn closer, despite every regulation about first contact protocols. The being's suffering was so apparent that her human instincts overrode her training. "I know you can understand me somehow," she said softly, settling cross-legged on the metal floor where the creature could see her clearly. "We're going to help you, but I need you to trust us." The great head lowered until it rested just meters from where Sarah sat. Up close, she could see the intelligence in those enormous eyes, ancient and patient and filled with a pain that went beyond physical torture. "You've been alone here for so long," Sarah continued, her voice gentle. "Whatever those Xanthari did to you, whatever they made you do, that's over now. Humans don't abandon thinking beings in chains." The creature's breathing shifted, becoming deeper and more regular. Some tension seemed to leave its massive frame, as if Sarah's words carried a meaning that transcended language barriers. Torres returned with the cutting equipment, followed by Dr. Hassan carrying medical supplies and Rodriguez with a security detail. The industrial cutters were designed for asteroid mining, powerful enough to slice through the strongest known alloys. "Start with the neck restraint," Sarah ordered. "That one looks like it's causing the most damage." The cutter's plasma beam ignited with a brilliant blue flame, immediately beginning to eat through the metal chains. The creature watched the process without moving, though Sarah noticed its breathing quicken with what she hoped was anticipation rather than fear. The first chain parted with a metallic scream, and the creature's head lifted fractionally higher. For the first time since they had found it, something like hope appeared in its expression. "It's working," Hassan observed, monitoring the creature's vital signs. "Heart rate is stabilizing and the stress hormones are decreasing." One by one, they cut through the restraints that had held the creature prisoner. Each freed limb moved tentatively, testing newfound freedom after what must have been months or years of captivity. The being's movements were graceful despite its size, suggesting a natural elegance that captivity had only temporarily suppressed. When the final chain fell away, the creature slowly rose to its full height. Standing, it was even more magnificent than Sarah had realized, easily filling the vast drilling chamber. Its scales caught the artificial light, creating patterns of shadow and brilliance across its massive form. For a moment, human and alien regarded each other across the vastness of space and evolution. Then, to everyone's amazement, the creature lowered its great head in what could only be interpreted as a bow of gratitude. "Captain," Kim called urgently from his position at the monitoring station, "I'm detecting multiple ships approaching the system. The Xanthari are coming back." Sarah felt her heart sink. The mining consortium must have grown concerned about the station's silence and dispatched a recovery team. If they arrived to find their prisoner freed and their operation exposed, the diplomatic consequences could be severe. "How long until they arrive?" she asked, helping Hassan tend to the creature's wounds. 40 minutes, maybe less," Kim replied. 3 heavy cruisers and what looks like a containment vessel." The creature seemed to understand the urgency in their voices. It moved toward the main exit of the drilling chamber but stopped when Sarah called out. "Wait," she said, stepping into its path. "We can't just let you go. The Xanthari will hunt you down, and we don't even know if you have a home to return to." The great eyes studied her face, and Sarah felt as if the creature was measuring her soul. Then, in a gesture that surprised everyone, it extended one massive claw toward Sarah's hand. When she reached out to touch it, images flooded her mind. Not words or sounds, but pure concepts and emotions transmitted directly through contact. She saw the creature's capture, years of torment and forced labor, the gradual death of hope. But she also saw something else, vast oceans under alien stars, others of its kind swimming through cosmic currents between worlds, a civilization as old as time itself. "You're not from this planet," Sarah gasped, understanding flooding through her. You're from deep space and your people are still out there. The creature withdrew its claw, but the connection remained. Sarah could sense its desperate desire to return to its own kind, coupled with a growing trust in these strange beings who had freed it from bondage. "Captain," Rodriguez interrupted urgently, "the Xanthari ships are accelerating. We have maybe 30 minutes. Sarah looked around the drilling chamber, her mind racing through possibilities. They couldn't hide a 30-meter creature, and they couldn't fight 3 Xanthari cruisers. But there might be another option, one that would require everything humanity had learned about defying impossible odds. "Rodriguez, prep the Aurora for immediate departure," she ordered. "Hassan, can this creature survive in our cargo bay?" "With life support modifications, yes," Hassan replied, though his expression showed he understood the magnitude of what she was suggesting. "Then that's what we're doing," Sarah announced. "We're taking our new friend home." The creature seemed to understand her intention. It moved toward the exit with new purpose, no longer the broken prisoner they had found, but a being reclaiming its destiny with human help. Getting a 30-meter space creature from the mining station to the Aurora proved to be an engineering challenge that would have daunted most species. But humans had built their reputation on solving impossible problems with determination and creative thinking. "The main cargo bay won't fit it," Rodriguez reported, running calculations on his tablet. "We'd need to remove half the bulkheads, and even then it would be tight." Sarah studied the schematics of both vessels, her mind working through alternatives. The creature waited patiently beside them, somehow understanding that these small beings were attempting something unprecedented on its behalf. "What about the external docking clamps?" Torres suggested. "We could modify them to create a temporary habitat." "In space?" Kim asked skeptically. "The creature would need life support, protection from radiation, and thermal regulation." Dr. Hassan had been scanning the creature continuously since its release, building a profile of its biological needs. "Its physiology is remarkably adaptable," he reported. "The cellular structure suggests it evolved in the vacuum of space originally. We might only need basic atmospheric containment." Sarah felt a surge of hope. "Show me the readings." Hassan's scanner displayed complex biological data that would have taken xenobiologists years to fully understand. But the key information was clear. This creature was naturally equipped for space travel, with specialized organs for processing cosmic radiation and maintaining internal pressure. "It's a space whale," Sarah realized with wonder. "A living starship." The creature's great head turned toward her at those words, and she felt that strange mental connection again. Images flowed between them. Vast pods of these beings swimming through stellar currents, feeding on solar radiation and cosmic dust, traveling between star systems as naturally as fish moved through ocean currents. "Captain," Kim interrupted urgently, "the Xanthari fleet is 15 minutes out. If we're going to do this, we need to move now." Sarah made the decision that would define her career. "Rodriguez, start welding external support brackets to the Aurora's hull. Torres, rig emergency life support pods around the attachment points. Hassan, prepare a mobile medical station in case our friend needs treatment during transit." The next 10 minutes became a frantic blur of improvised engineering. Human ingenuity pushed the boundaries of safety as they created a makeshift habitat for a creature that defied every regulation in the galactic transportation codes. The creature itself proved remarkably helpful, using its massive strength to position support beams while human engineers welded them into place. Its intelligence became more apparent with each passing moment, as it anticipated their needs and adjusted its posture to facilitate the work. "Life support pods are online," Torres reported, sweat beading on his forehead despite the controlled atmosphere. "Atmospheric containment is holding, but I wouldn't want to test it in a firefight." "Then we'll avoid fighting," Sarah replied, though she knew the Xanthari wouldn't simply let them leave with their stolen property. The final attachment took place just as the first Xanthari ship appeared on their sensors. Sarah felt her heart pounding as she watched the massive creature position itself against the Aurora's hull, trusting its life to human engineering and determination. "Containment field is stable," Hassan reported from his hastily assembled monitoring station. "Creature's vital signs are strong and steady." "All hands prepare for immediate departure," Sarah announced over the ship's communication system. "We're about to make history, people." The Aurora disengaged from the mining station with careful precision, its unusual passenger secured along its ventral hull. To any observer, The sight would have been impossible to comprehend. A human exploration vessel carrying a spaceborne Leviathan toward unknown destinations. Zenthari ships are hailing us, Kim reported. They're demanding we return their property. Sarah's jaw tightened. Open a channel. The main view screen filled with the reptilian features of a Zenthari commander, his scales displaying the aggressive red patterns that indicated extreme agitation. Human vessel. You are in violation of galactic salvage laws, the commander hissed. Return the specimen immediately or face the consequences. Commander, Sarah replied with icy calm, what we found on that station wasn't property. It was a sentient being held in illegal captivity. Under Galactic Accord 15, any intelligent species has the right to freedom from enslavement. The creature is a dangerous predator, the Zenthari argued. We were containing it for the safety of the sector. Sarah felt the creature's mental touch again, and suddenly she understood the full scope of the Zenthari deception. Images flashed through her mind. The creature's peaceful nature, its attempt to communicate with its captors, the gradual realization that it was being used as a living tool. You're lying, Sarah said flatly. This being never attacked anyone. You captured it during one of its natural migrations and forced it to work your mining equipment through neural torture. The Zenthari commander's scales shifted to deeper red. You cannot prove such accusations, human. Return our property or we will take it by force. I'd like to see you try, Sarah replied, cutting the transmission. Around her, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency despite the unprecedented situation. The Aurora's engines came online, building toward the jump to hyperspace that would carry them away from Zenthari justice. Captain, Rodriguez called from the engineering station. Our passenger is affecting the ship's mass distribution. Hyperspace calculations are completely off. Sarah's heart sank. Without accurate hyperspace navigation, they could emerge anywhere in the galaxy or worse, tear themselves apart in the interdimensional transition. But then the creature's mental voice touched her consciousness again, and suddenly she understood. The being wasn't a passenger at all. It was offering to guide them, using abilities that had evolved over millions of years of space travel. Hassan, monitor the creature's neural activity, Sarah ordered. I think it wants to help us navigate. The readings on Hassan's scanner spiked as the creature's massive brain engaged with processes beyond human comprehension. Somehow it was interfacing with the Aurora's navigation systems, making calculations that took into account not just spatial coordinates but temporal currents and dimensional flows. Hyperspace engine is ready, Torres reported, but the navigation computer is showing impossible readings. Trust them, Sarah said, her hand resting on the communication panel that connected her to the creature's consciousness. Our friend knows the way. The Zenthari ships opened fire just as the Aurora made its jump to hyperspace. But instead of the usual disorienting transition, the journey felt smooth and natural, as if they were riding cosmic currents that the creature understood instinctively. When they emerged from hyperspace 3 hours later, they were further from Zenthari space than should have been possible with their fuel reserves. The creature had somehow guided them through dimensional shortcuts that cut travel time by orders of magnitude. Where are we? Kim asked, studying sensor readings that showed unfamiliar star patterns. Sarah felt the answer through her connection with the creature before Hassan's scanner confirmed it. They were in deep space far from any inhabited system, where something wonderful was about to happen. Look at the long-range sensors, Hassan whispered in amazement. The view screen filled with an impossible sight, dozens of massive forms moving through space with graceful purpose. They were similar to their passenger but even larger, ancient beings that had swum through the cosmic ocean since before most civilizations had discovered fire. The creature pressed against the Aurora's hull made sounds that translated through metal and atmosphere as pure joy. Its family had come to welcome it home. Captain, Torres said softly, I think we're about to witness something no human has ever seen. Sarah nodded, watching as the pod of spaceborne leviathans approached their ship. Whatever happened next, humanity had just made its most important discovery. In a universe full of wonders, the greatest miracle was the simple act of showing compassion to those in need. The first of the great beings drew alongside the Aurora, and Sarah felt the creature's gratitude wash over her like warm sunlight. They had done more than rescue a prisoner. They had returned a lost child to its family, and in doing so had opened a door to possibilities beyond imagination. The reunion between the rescued creature and its pod was unlike anything in human experience. Through the Aurora's viewports, Sarah and her crew watched as dozens of massive beings performed an intricate dance around their ship, their movements creating patterns of light and shadow against the starfield. The creature attached to their hull responded with harmonious vibrations that resonated through the ship's structure. To human ears, it sounded like whale song transmitted through metal, but Dr. Hassan's instruments revealed something far more complex. "Captain, these aren't just sounds," Hassan reported, his voice filled with scientific excitement. "The acoustic patterns contain mathematical sequences, star charts, and what appears to be historical data. They're exchanging information at a rate that would take our computers hours to process." Sarah pressed her hand against the bulkhead, feeling the vibrations flow through her bones. The mental connection she had established with their passenger grew stronger, allowing her to glimpse fragments of the communication. The rescued creature was telling its story. The capture by Zenthari mining teams, years of forced labor, the pain of neural interface torture, and finally, the arrival of strange small beings who had freed it without asking for anything in return. "They're talking about us," Sarah realized. "It's telling them how humans helped." The largest of the space whales, ancient beyond measure, approached the Aurora directly. Its presence was overwhelming, a living mountain moving through space with impossible grace. When it drew close enough to touch their hull, Sarah felt a new consciousness brush against her mind. This entity was old when Earth's sun was young, a keeper of memories that spanned galactic epochs. It had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, but never had it encountered a species quite like humanity. Images flowed between them. Young races discovering space travel, most seeking to exploit and dominate. The space whales had learned to avoid contact with terrestrial species, as contact usually led to capture attempts or worse. But humans had been different. When faced with a suffering intelligent being, they had chosen compassion over profit, risking their own safety to help a creature they barely understood. "Captain," Kim called urgently. "I'm detecting hyperspace signatures. Multiple ships approaching fast." Sarah's heart sank as the tactical display revealed the approaching vessels. The Zenthari had followed them somehow, bringing what appeared to be an entire battle fleet. 12 heavy cruisers and 6 containment ships, Rodriguez reported grimly. "They're not here to negotiate." The pod of space whales sensed the approaching threat immediately. The smaller creatures moved to form a protective formation around the Aurora, while the elders positioned themselves between the human ship and the incoming Zenthari fleet. "They're trying to protect us," Torres observed with wonder. "But against that many ships." Sarah felt the ancient whale's consciousness touch hers again. This time, the communication was urgent and complex. The Elder was offering something unprecedented, an alliance between humanity and the spaceborne Leviathans. For millions of years, these creatures had avoided contact with spacefaring civilizations. But humanity's act of compassion had proven that not all young races were driven purely by greed and domination. The Zenthari fleet dropped out of hyperspace, in attack formation, their weapons charging immediately. The lead ship's communication system crackled to life across all frequencies. "Human vessel, you are surrounded," the fleet commander announced. "Release our property immediately or be destroyed." Sarah looked around her bridge, seeing determination on every face. Her crew had signed up for exploration and discovery, not combat, but none of them showed any hesitation about defending their rescued passenger. "All ships," Sarah broadcast on open channels, "the being you call property is a free citizen of the galaxy. We will not return it to captivity." "Then you have chosen death?" the Zenthari commander replied coldly. The first weapons barrage came from 3 directions simultaneously. Plasma bolts designed to disable rather than destroy. The Zenthari wanted their mining creature back intact, which gave the Aurora a slight tactical advantage. But it was the space whale's response that stunned everyone watching. The creatures didn't fight in any conventional sense. Instead, they began to sing. The harmonics that emerged from dozens of massive throats created interference patterns in space itself. The Zenthari weapons found their targeting systems disrupted, their energy beams scattered by acoustic fields that shouldn't have been possible in vacuum. How are they doing that? Hassan asked in amazement, watching his instruments register impossible readings. The ancient whale's consciousness touched Sarah's mind again, sharing knowledge that took her breath away. These creatures didn't just swim through space, they shaped it. Their songs could manipulate gravitational fields, redirect energy flows, and even bend the fabric of space-time itself. The Zenthari fleet found themselves trapped in a web of gravitational anomalies, their ships pulled off course by forces they couldn't understand or counter. Weapons fire went wild, missing targets by impossible margins as space itself seemed to twist around the whale songs. "Captain," Kim reported with disbelief, "the Zenthari are retreating. Their entire fleet is breaking off and jumping to hyperspace." Sarah watched the tactical display as the enemy ships disappeared one by one, defeated not by superior firepower, but by abilities that transcended conventional physics. The space whales had protected the Aurora without firing a single shot. As the last Zenthari vessel vanished, the whale song gradually faded. The creatures resumed their gentle dance around the human ship, but now something had changed. The pod. Elder approached the Aurora again, this time with clear purpose. The mental connection that formed was different from before, more formal and profound. Sarah found herself representing not just her ship or her crew, but all of humanity in a moment that would reshape galactic civilization. The Elder was making an offer. The space whales would share their knowledge with humanity, teach them the songs that could reshape reality itself. In return, humans would serve as protectors for the whale pods, using their technology and determination to defend against those who would exploit these ancient beings. "It's an alliance," Sarah whispered, understanding flooding through her. "They want to form an alliance with Earth." The implications were staggering. Humanity would gain access to technologies that could revolutionize space travel, energy production, and scientific understanding. But more importantly, they would become guardians of one of the galaxy's most ancient and wise species. The rescued creature pressed against the Aurora's hull one final time, its gratitude flowing through the mental link like warm sunlight. But now Sarah sensed something else. Pride. The space whale was proud to have been rescued by humans. Proud to be the bridge between two species that were destined to change the galaxy together. "Captain," Hassan called softly, "our passenger is preparing to disengage. Its family is ready to welcome it back." Sarah nodded, though her heart was heavy with the approaching goodbye. In just a few hours, this magnificent being had taught her more about the universe than years of exploration. The external support brackets released with gentle precision, freeing the creature to rejoin its pod. It moved away from the Aurora slowly, as if reluctant to break the connection that had formed between human and whale. But as it swam toward its family, Sarah realized this wasn't really a goodbye. It was the beginning of something far greater than either species could achieve alone. The space whales had found protectors in humanity, and humans had found teachers among the stars. Together, they would face whatever challenges the galaxy might bring, proving that compassion and cooperation could triumph over greed and exploitation. The rescued creature took its place among its family, but the bond forged in darkness and chains would endure across the light years. Humanity had saved more than a single life that day. They had saved the future itself. 3 months after the rescue, Captain Sarah Chen stood before the Galactic Council on Proxima Station, representing humanity in the most important diplomatic session in the galaxy's recorded history. The rescue of a single space whale had triggered consequences that no one could have predicted. The council chambers buzzed with tension as representatives from dozens of species debated the implications of the human-whale alliance. At the center of the controversy sat the Zenthari delegation, their scales displaying the deep red patterns of barely contained rage. "The humans have violated established mining rights," Ambassador Kethral hissed through his translator. "The creature was legally obtained property, essential to our industrial operations." Sarah felt her temper rise but kept her voice level. "Sentient beings cannot be property under any civilized legal system. The creature you obtained was tortured into compliance using neural interface technology." "Prove it," Kethral challenged. Without the facility to examine, your claims are merely accusations. That was the Zenthari's strategy, Sarah realized. They had destroyed the mining station immediately after the Aurora's escape, eliminating the evidence of their crimes. But they hadn't counted on human thoroughness. Dr. Hassan, Sarah called to the witness area. Hassan approached the testimony platform carrying a sealed data container. Honored council members, during our rescue operation, we documented extensive evidence of neural torture devices, biological restraint systems, and forced labor conditions. The holographic display above the council floor activated, showing the horrible reality of the creature's captivity. Gasps and expressions of disgust rippled through the assembled delegates as they witnessed the scarred metal walls, the blood-stained chains, and the neural interface ports designed to inflict agony. "This is what the Zenthari call legal mining operations," Sarah announced. "The systematic torture of an intelligent being for industrial profit." Kethral's scales shifted to darker hues. "The creature is dangerous. It destroyed our facility and killed our workers." "Your workers fled," Hassan corrected, consulting his tablet. Biological scans showed no Zenthari remains at the facility. The creature broke free and they abandoned their post. The Valdorian representative, a tall humanoid with crystalline features, spoke with the voice of ancient authority. "If this creature is truly sentient, why does it not speak for itself?" Sarah had been hoping for this question. "Because the space whales communicate in ways that transcend conventional language. With the Council's permission, I'd like to demonstrate." After a brief consultation, the Council agreed. Sarah activated a communication device that Hassan had developed based on the acoustic patterns they had recorded during the whale song. The chamber filled with complex harmonics that seemed to resonate in the bones of every being present. But this wasn't just sound. The device translated the whale song into mathematical concepts, emotional states, and pure meaning that bypassed language entirely. Every delegate in the chamber suddenly understood what Sarah's team had experienced. The creature's pain, its gratitude, and its ancient wisdom. The Zenthari delegation shifted uncomfortably as the full scope of their victim's intelligence became undeniable. This wasn't a mere animal they had enslaved, but a being whose consciousness spanned geological ages. "The communication method is fascinating," admitted Counselor Vex 9, the artificial intelligence representative. "But what does humanity gain from this alliance? Your species is known for seeking advantage in every transaction." Sarah smiled, recognizing the test. The Council wanted to know if humans were exploiting the space whales just as the Zenthari had, only more subtly. "The whales have offered to teach us their gravitational manipulation techniques," Sarah admitted honestly. "But the knowledge comes with responsibility. We become their protectors, defending them from exploitation by any species." "A military alliance," observed the Draxian war chief, his armor clanking as he leaned forward. "Humans seek weapons. We seek knowledge," Sarah corrected. "The space whales' abilities aren't weapons, they're tools for exploration, construction, and healing. They've agreed to help us develop faster-than-light travel that doesn't damage spacetime, energy systems that work in harmony with natural forces, and medical techniques that could extend life for all species." The implications sent murmurs through the council chambers. If humanity gained access to such technologies, the balance of galactic power would shift dramatically. Kethral rose from his delegation's seating area. "The Council cannot allow one species to monopolize such advantages. The creature belongs to the galaxy, not to humanity." "The creature belongs to itself," Sarah replied firmly, "and it has chosen to ally with the species that freed it from bondage. That's its right under every principle of galactic law." The debate continued for hours, but Sarah could sense the tide turning. The evidence of Zenthari cruelty was overwhelming, while humanity's actions had been motivated by compassion rather than greed. More importantly, the space whales themselves had made their choice clear. As if summoned by the discussion, the council chamber's sensors detected massive objects approaching Proxima Station. Through the transparent dome overhead, delegates watched in awe as a pod of space whales emerged from hyperspace. The creatures were magnificent in the starlight, their scales reflecting the glow of nearby nebulae. The largest among them, the ancient elder that Sarah had encountered, positioned itself directly above the council chambers. What happened next defied every regulation in the station's safety protocols. The elder space whale began to sing, and its voice somehow reached through metal and atmosphere to touch the minds of every being in the chamber. The communication was unlike anything the galaxy had experienced. Pure concepts flowed directly into their consciousness. The whale's perspective on civilizations that rose and fell like waves, the pain of watching species destroy themselves through greed and warfare, and the hope they had found in humanity's simple act of kindness. The elder spoke of the choice they had made. For millions of years, the space whales had remained hidden, protecting themselves from exploitation. But humanity had proven that some species could choose compassion over profit, that civilization could grow beyond its primitive impulses. When the communication ended, the council chamber sat in stunned silence. Every delegate had experienced a glimpse of consciousness so vast and ancient that their own perspective seemed narrow and limited by comparison. Counselor Vex 9 was the first to speak. The Artificial Intelligence Collective recognizes the sapience and autonomy of the space whale species. Their right to choose their own allies is unquestionable. One by one, the other delegates voiced their agreement. Even species that traditionally opposed humanity found themselves moved by the whale's testimony. The Zenthari delegation sat in furious silence, their legal arguments crumbling in the face of such overwhelming evidence. The final vote was unanimous except for the Zenthari abstention. The space whales were officially recognized as a sovereign species, and their alliance with humanity was granted full legal status under galactic law. But the Council also imposed conditions. The technologies that the whales shared could not be used for aggressive purposes. Humanity would be monitored to ensure they upheld their promise to protect, rather than exploit their new allies. Sarah accepted the terms without hesitation. The restrictions were reasonable, and humanity had no intention of betraying the trust the space whales had placed in them. As the session concluded, Sarah felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had done more than rescue a single creature. They had forged an alliance that would reshape the galaxy's future. Outside the council chambers, the space whales continued their song, a melody of hope that reached across star systems. For the first time in cosmic history, a species had chosen to share their deepest secrets not because they were forced to, but because they had found others worthy of trust. The rescued creature that had started it all swam among its family, free to explore the cosmic currents it had been born to navigate. Its gratitude to humanity would echo through generations, a reminder that even in the vast darkness of space, compassion could light the way to a better future. The alliance was only the beginning. Together, humans and space whales would explore mysteries that neither species could uncover alone, proving that the greatest discoveries came not from conquest, but from the courage to help those in need. 5 years after the rescue that changed everything, the galaxy was a very different place. Captain Sarah Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood on the bridge of the starship Harmony, humanity's first vessel built with space whale technology. Around her, the familiar crew that had started this journey worked with equipment that would have seemed like magic just years before. The Harmony moved through space without conventional engines, riding gravitational currents that the whale songs shaped and directed. Its hull was grown rather than built, using techniques the ancient creatures had perfected over millions of years. Most remarkably, the ship itself was partially alive, able to heal damage and adapt to changing conditions. "Admiral, we're approaching the Andromeda Junction," reported Commander Torres, now Sarah's second-in-command. "The memorial is ready for the dedication ceremony." Through the viewports, Sarah could see the massive structure that marked this historic location. The Memorial of First Contact commemorated the spot where humanity and the space whales had first formed their alliance. But it served a deeper purpose as well. Built using human engineering and whale biotechnology, the memorial was more than a monument. It was a beacon that transmitted the story of the rescue across the galaxy, ensuring that no one would forget what had started with one crew's decision to show compassion to a suffering being. The space around the memorial teemed with life. Dozens of whale pods had gathered for the ceremony, their songs creating harmonics that made the very fabric of space shimmer with otherworldly beauty. Among them swam the original creature that Sarah's team had rescued, now fully healed and thriving among its family. But the whales weren't alone. Ships from across the galaxy had come to witness the dedication, representing species that had been transformed by the human-whale alliance. The technologies shared by the ancient creatures had revolutionized civilization itself. Medical techniques based on whale biomanipulation had extended lifespans and eliminated countless diseases. Construction methods using living materials had created habitats that adapted to their inhabitants' needs. Most importantly, the whale songs had opened new methods of communication that helped species understand each other in ways previously impossible. "Admiral," called Dr. Hassan from the science station, "the Zenthari delegation is requesting permission to approach." Sarah felt a mixture of surprise and caution. The Zenthari had spent 5 years challenging the alliance through legal proceedings and diplomatic pressure. Their mining consortium had collapsed when other species refused to do business with slavers, leading to massive economic upheaval in their territory. Grant them approach clearance, Sarah decided, but maintain defensive positions. The Zenthari ship that approached the Harmony was unlike their previous vessels. Gone were the aggressive lines and weapon arrays that had characterized their fleet. This ship was smaller, built for diplomacy rather than conquest, and its hull displayed symbols of peaceful intent. "Incoming transmission," Torres reported. The main screen filled with the image of a Zenthari female. Her scales displaying patterns that Sarah had learned indicated deep regret and submission. This was Ambassador Silthek, the new leader of the Zenthari government that had risen after their mining consortium's fall. "Admiral Chen," Silthek began, her voice carrying none of the aggressive hissing that had characterized previous Zenthari communications. "I come before you and the gathered beings to offer formal apology for the crimes committed by my people." Sarah studied the alien diplomat carefully. The Zenthari as a species had faced massive social upheaval when the truth about their mining operations became public knowledge. Younger Zenthari had rejected the old ways, leading to civil conflicts that had reshaped their entire civilization. "Your apology is noted, Ambassador," Sarah replied carefully, "but words alone cannot undo years of suffering." "You are correct," Silthek acknowledged, "which is why we offer more than words." The Zenthari ship's cargo bay opened, revealing something that made Sarah's breath catch. Suspended in protective fields were dozens of space whale eggs, carefully preserved and maintained at enormous cost. "During our expansion era, my people captured more than adult specimens," Siltek explained, her scales shifting to deeper patterns of shame. "We found breeding grounds and took eggs intending to raise creatures from birth for easier control. These are the survivors, the last children of families we destroyed." The reaction from the whale pods was immediate and overwhelming. Their songs shifted to frequencies that Sarah had never heard before, harmonics filled with joy and anguish combined. Through her mental connection with the rescued whale, she felt emotions too complex for human language to describe. These were lost children, stolen before they could learn the songs of their people. Raised in artificial environments that stunted their development, the space whales had mourned them as dead for generations. "The eggs are healthy," Silthek continued. "Our scientists have maintained them in stasis, but we lack the knowledge to help them develop properly. We return them to their true families, along with all research data we gathered about your species." The ancient elder that had first communicated with Sarah emerged from the whale pod, its massive form approaching the memorial with deliberate purpose. Sarah felt its consciousness brush against her mind, carrying gratitude so profound it brought tears to her eyes. This gesture went beyond mere restitution. The Zenthari were acknowledging not just their crimes, but their fundamental misunderstanding of what the space whales represented. They were returning life itself to a species they had tried to enslave. The Zenthari Republic also formally requests admission to the Galactic Protection Accord, Siltek announced. "We wish to join the alliance dedicated to preventing the exploitation of sentient species." Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. The Protection Accord had been humanity's suggestion, a treaty system that grew out of their alliance with the space whales. Member species committed to protecting vulnerable civilizations and sharing knowledge for the benefit of all. "That decision rests with the Council," Sarah replied, "but your actions today demonstrate a willingness to change that we've not seen before." The ceremony that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The whale eggs were transferred to specialized biopods that the elder whales sang into existence, living incubators that would nurture the stolen children back to health. The process would take decades, but the space whales measured time in geological epochs. As the Zenthari ship departed, Ambassador Siltek transmitted one final message. We cannot undo the harm we caused, but we can ensure it never happens again. The children of Zenthari learn now of the crimes committed in our name, and they swear such things will never be repeated. The memorial dedication proceeded with representatives from 47 species taking part in the ceremony. Each delegation added their own cultural elements to the monument, creating a work of art that represented galactic unity while honoring the simple act of compassion that had started it all. Sarah found herself standing before the central display, which showed the moment her team had first encountered the chained space whale. The holographic recreation was so detailed she could see the determination on her younger self's face as she made the decision to intervene. "Do you ever regret it?" asked Commander Torres, joining her at the display. "If you'd known it would lead to all this, would you still have made the same choice?" Sarah considered the question seriously. The Alliance had brought wonders beyond imagination, but it had also brought responsibilities that sometimes felt overwhelming. Humanity now served as protectors for dozens of vulnerable species, mediators in conflicts they barely understood, and guardians of technologies that could reshape the galaxy. But through the memorial's bio-neural network, she could sense the rescued whale swimming free among its family, its children learning the ancient songs that had been nearly lost. She could feel the gratitude of the eggs that would soon become new life, and the hope of species across the galaxy who now knew that someone would stand up for them against exploitation. Every time, Sarah answered without hesitation. Even knowing the cost, I'd make the same choice every time. The space whale's songs reached a crescendo as the memorial came fully online, its bioluminescent displays painting the surrounding space with patterns of light that would be visible from systems away. The message it broadcast was simple but profound. In a universe filled with wonders and terrors, compassion was the greatest force of all. The rescued whale approached the Harmony one final time, its massive form dwarfing the starship. Through their mental connection, Sarah felt its final message. Gratitude not just for her crew's actions, but for humanity's choice to become something greater than they had been. As the ceremony concluded and the gathered fleets began to disperse, Sarah knew that this was not an ending but a new beginning. The alliance between humanity and the space whales would continue to grow, drawing in new species and spreading the simple truth that had started it all. No thinking being should suffer alone in the darkness when others could bring light. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but it was also full of hope. And as long as species like humanity were willing to choose compassion over convenience, that hope would never die.